Hello, everyone. I just wanted to come here really quick and go over this new card that was revealed from the collection Sun and Moon, which Japan should be getting, I believe, end of November, early December, and we'll be getting in February. So, the Pokemon is Tsareena. She was actually just revealed not too long ago as far as the video game goes. And the interesting thing about this card is its ability, Queenly Majesty, which is also the same ability that Tsareena gets in the game, which blocks priority moves, which is very unique, if I do say so myself. So, let's just look at this. I was trying to refrain from reviewing the Sun and Moon cards until all of them were revealed, but this one I just absolutely positively have to talk about because I think this is the most interesting one so far, aside from Sol Galileo and Lunala. And the whole GX concept is interesting, but I think that this one is going to cause a lot of debate or speculation between players, as it already has. So, Tsareena, it's a grass Pokemon. It has 140 HP. It is a stage 2. It evolves from Steenie, and its ability is Queenly Majesty, like the one in the game. Once during your turn, before you attack, when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may look at your opponent's hand and discard one card. So we're going to talk more about that in a moment. The attack is Chop Kick, Grass, 2 double colorless, does 80 damage, heal 20 damage from this Pokemon, and remove all special conditions from this Pokemon. Not the best attack in the world, but I could definitely see a player potentially attacking with that. The weakness to fire is pretty bad, considering Volcanion is pretty popular. No resistance and 2 retreat costs, which is kind of standard for Pokemon in general. Usually, we see anything between 1 and 2. Now, the ability is the thing that really is interesting about this card. So the ability Queenly Majesty, once during your turn before you attack, when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may look at your opponent's hand and discard one card. So when I read it at first, I was thinking to myself, it's cute, but it's not amazing. I've probably thought about that for like 20 seconds. And then I guess your mind just works on its own, and then I was like, oh wait, that's right. So if you didn't know, Shiftry is a Pokemon that is currently banned in the game, and Shiftry was banned because of its interaction with giant forest plants. So it allowed players to evolve into Shiftry very fast on the first turn multiple times and use its ability where you would flip a coin, and if heads, you could remove one of your opponent's Pokemon that they have in play. I believe it was the active Pokemon that they have in play. Now, if you did this multiple times in the first turn and your opponent only started, let's say, with 1 basic or 2 basics, even sometimes 3 basics, you could very easily bench your opponent on the first turn of the game and outright win. And the deck was engineered to be able to pick up and drop multiple Shiftrys in a turn. Now, Queenly Majesty is also an ability that can really disrupt your opponent on the first turn. If I go first and I get my giant forest of plants and I just, evolve quickly into Tsareena and use Queenly Majesty, I can look at my opponent's opening hand and get rid of cards in order to put myself at an advantage. Now, a lot of people were saying, okay, well, this is worse than Shiftry. I don't think it's worse than Shiftry because Tsareena doesn't outright win you the game, but it swings the game in your favor a lot by basically putting your opponent, having the ability to put your opponent in top deck mode from the first turn of the game. And that is a pretty big deal because, as we know, how many times have you opened poorly and couldn't draw out of it, allowed your opponent to get into a position where they were able to come back. Allow your opponent to get in a position where they were just able to overpower you because your start was bad. And Tsareena kind of is like, screw your hand, your start is always going to be bad because it's able to get rid of so many cards. And then once you put into that top deck mode with, let's say, what is it, 7, 6, that's what, 13. So once you're put into that top deck mode with about 46 or so cards left in your deck, then you're in trouble because there's so many cards that you could draw into that are not going to help you at that point. So Tsareena, I don't think it's going to be able to be a deck on its own simply because it can't outright win you the game, but I think that it is going to be a support Pokemon, or I guess it will be a main feature, but I think it's gonna also need something to support it as far as attacking. So maybe the Lurantis GX that was just revealed, that would be a cute Pokemon to play with Tsareena, and a lot of different other things. You probably want to play it with something that is grass. I don't see Vespiquen being able to be played with it because simply because you do want the Tsarenas in play. But maybe that could be a thing, possibly. Vileplume, people might try to play it with that because they have synergy and being able to lock your opponent down. However, that sounds like it could be a bit clunky. And in addition, the ability to look at your opponent's hand, let's say that you don't get rid of their supporter for the turn and they can draw, but just the being able to look at their hand and being able to prepare for what they have coming, or being able to manipulate your opponent's hands into and limit their plays and anticipate their plays, that is really, really good. In the addition of discarding a card. And we remember the last time we had a card that allowed us to look at your opponent's hand and discard a card. Yeah, that was pretty devastating. And I think we had to switch formats somewhat because of the card that was able to abuse that supporter. So it's a big deal. But I don't want to overhype Tsareena because Tsareena, again, I think that it doesn't have enough offensive pressure. It doesn't cripple your opponent down to where they absolutely cannot win. But I think it's going to be one of those plays where a lot of people will get screwed by this card, and if they end up having to go second. Another thing is that it does have some checks. So in expanded, we do have Trevenant, and if I get a first turn Trevenant and you're playing, a deck that focuses on evolving, and disrupting me, you're gonna have a hard time getting that off if I get a turn one Trev. Greninja has Talonflame, which can hit for 40 and pick up two, search your deck for 2 cards. So it's kind of making your opponent constantly have to answer the Talonflame with the Tsareena. So that's also a really good card, I think, that kind of checks it in Greninja. But again, are these things that are going to, guarantee you a win against a deck like this? I think it all depends on really who goes first. And going first with this deck can potentially devastate your opponent. But I don't think it's going to be something to the extent of Shiftry where it's going to need to be banned. I think our formats have developed enough to a point where we possibly could handle a card like this being in there. But I'm just going to say it's a good time to be a grass Pokemon. Grass support has gotten really, really good lately. I think all they really need is something to take care of their weakness to fire. Because again, Volcanion is kind of like, okay, I don't care how you start. It could potentially deal with this. But if disrupting your opponent's hand is just so good, like you could possibly put Volcanion in a position where they might not be able to pull it out and be able to beat you. So I think this is a very interesting one. I will continue to follow how this card develops and the impact that it could or could not have. But I think as of now, this is going to be a major player. But I don't want to overhype it. I'm not going to say that it's like going to completely define the format, but I think it's going to become a major player within our format. And I could be wrong, but we shall see. I really like Tsareena. So thank you so much. I will be reviewing the rest of the Sun and Moon cards soon. At least when we get a full spoiler, I'll go through it. But this is a card that I really just wanted to talk about right now. Have a wonderful day.